Number 11, Dr. Jian.
Mr. Speaker, my question is to the Minister of Education. What recent announcement has she made that demonstrates the government's commitment to investing in educational achievement?
The Honourable Hiki-Parata.
Mr. Speaker, this government has invested the most money ever in education at just over $11 billion. It continues this government's considerable investment in the educational future of all our children and young people. The investment includes in early childhood education an extra $396.9 million over the next 4 years, providing funding for over 14,000 more children in 2019-20. $42.1 million in children with special needs over the next 4 years, $882.5 million in school property for 480 new classrooms, 9 new schools, 2 school expansions, and the relocation and rebuilding of 3 schools and a kura, and $43.2 million over the next 4 years for schools educating students most at risk of educational underachievement. And given the non-stop talking of the member from New Zealand First, I helpfully have a postcard here that sets out all of those numbers I've just read.
Supplementary question, Dr. Jian.
How will this investment ensure educational success for the most vulnerable New Zealanders?
The Honourable Hiki-Parata.
Mr. Speaker, Budget 2016 uses a social investment approach to direct an extra $43.2 million of operating funding over 4 years to schools educating about 150,000 students most at risk of educational failure. The schools targeted for this new funding have students who have spent a significant proportion of their lives in benefit-dependent households. Research shows that children aged between 6 and 14 who have been supported by benefits for 3/4 of their lives have only a 48% chance of achieving NCEA Level 2 by age 21. By contrast, 73% of the general population will have NCEA Level 2 by that age. Indicative modelling shows that the overwhelming majority of schools will receive some extra funding. This targeted approach to operational funding will increase these students' chance of getting the educational qualifications they need and deserve.
Supplementary question, Dr. Jian.
What benefits will this investment bring to New Zealand children?
The Honourable Hiki-Parata.
Mr. Speaker, education is a passport for a better future. This investment will ensure that the children at greatest risk of underachievement get the support they need to succeed in education. This is intended to protect them from a host of poor social outcomes in their adult lives, which leads to increased costs to themselves and to the government in the future. It will ensure that New Zealand children grow up to be successful, productive and confident Kiwis.
Supplementary question.
Order. Chris Hipkins.
What does it say about the government's priorities in education that the funding allocated in this year's budget for new charter schools is almost the same as the total increase in funding for all secondary schools in New Zealand?
What does that say?
The Honourable Hiki-Parata.
Mr. Speaker, the first thing to say is the overall vote education has gone up by 2.5%. The second thing to say is the member is comparing a very small part of the overall investment in education. And the third thing to say is that the kids that are at the partnership schools are kids that have not been successful in other options and are now being successful. And the fourth thing to say is that we are committed to choice and diversity in our education system, and no parent is being forced to send their kids to partnership schools.
Question number 12.